Russian writer, pacifist, philosophical anarchist, and one of the greatest authors of all time, Leo Tolstoy, once wrote, "The strongest of all warriors are time and patience." But according to Sun Tzu's Art of War, which came along just a couple of millennia before Tolstoy, being a strong soldier or fighter is far more about possessing an intelligent mind. In his own words, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. This strategy revolves around the idea that brain is stronger than brawn, and if you strike before the enemy is fully mobilized, they will be unable to fight back, and you can defeat them without having to fight. The Art of War is considered as the first known example of a military text, a treatise focused on the strategic and tactical aspects of warfare. Believed to have been written somewhere between the 4th and 5th century BC, we don't know much about its author, Chinese military leader Sun Tzu. Whether he was a real person, or if he was actually the real author of The Art of War. Whoever he was, what's clear is that he was extremely wise, and this is why The Art of War is still relevant to this day. But it's not just in traditional warfare his teachings can be applied, but in many areas of our life, which is why Sun Tzu's teachings continue to resonate with readers all over the world. Only the dead have seen the end of war. Clearly, Plato had a good point. War will exist as long as we continue to exist. And while Sun Tzu would probably have agreed with the ancient Greek philosopher on that, he in no way reveled in the idea of warfare. It's a highly somber affair that leads to very real, deadly consequences. When it comes to achieving victory, Sun Tzu gives us the 5 essentials. This includes knowing when to fight and when to stand down, being able to deploy an army of any size, being prepared for anything unexpected, the uniting of officers and soldiers who are prepared to follow orders to the ends of the earth, and lastly, having a shrewd, capable leader who takes initiative and is trusted and free to make independent decisions without interference. In a nutshell, the Art of War instructs that one should not rely on the probability that the enemy will come, but on how ready they are to receive him. It's about knowing when to fight and when not to fight, and where to strike. Go for the weak spots. Know how to deceive your enemy. Appear strong when you are weak, and weak when you are strong, which we'll take a look at in more detail later in the video. So what does the Art of War teach us in today's world? To answer that, let's take a look at the 15 core lessons that we learn from its 13 chapters that enable us to win our battles without lifting a finger in combat. First, planning and preparation are essential. Victory is won by the opponent who is most prepared with thorough battle plans. If you're prepared and planning for all eventualities, then you'll know how to deal with the unexpected. And you'll have the ability and resources to deal with whatever surprises come your way. This is something that can be applied to most aspects of life, such as education, business, or even when making big life decisions. Then, we must commit. Not just to the act, but the costs or prices that come with that particular quest. For example, if you're planning to go back to university or take a study course, you must ask yourself, how long will it take to achieve, and how much will it cost me? When you have the answer, commit to it. This means you'll be more likely to see things through to the end, even when things get tough. The way to win any fight or achieve any goal where you must beat an opponent is to do it with the mind. You must first believe in yourself wholeheartedly. Convince yourself that you will achieve what you set out to do, that you are capable and determined. Once you've gotten this down, it'll leak into the actions you take in the real world. To win, you must believe that victory is not only possible, but is going to happen. You've probably heard of the law of attraction, where you achieve a goal by focusing on the desired outcome. In a sense, you manifest it. And that might be pseudoscience, but there's a clear link that results in one thing. the power of the mind. Goals and objectives can be enormous and overwhelming, whether it's war or otherwise. So break the overall process down into smaller steps. You can't focus on becoming a top doctor unless you first study, graduate, start in an entry-level position, and then work your way up the career ladder. Flexibility is key when you are focusing on your end goal. All plans are wrought with problems and complications. But if you let go of rigid structures and instead embrace being more flexible and adaptable, you will, in the end, achieve success. Flexibility, adaptability, and creativity. Take the time to work out what your own unique skills, talents, and abilities are and use them to your advantage, finding creative solutions to get where you need to be. As Sun Tzu stated, all warfare is based on deception. You could be a soldier, an athlete, or a go-getter in a cutthroat business world. But in any case, you should appear strong when you are weak, and appear weak when you are strong. Enemies will let their guard down and leave themselves open and vulnerable if they perceive you as weak. So this is effective in coming out on top. On the other hand, if you're weak in a certain area, you must project an air of strength and dissuade your enemies from attacking or taking advantage of your true position. Something many of us have probably heard before. Sun recommends choosing your battles wisely. You can't be expected to achieve victory if you take on every single battle. You must be wise and consider how clear your advantage is, and only when you've weighed this up do you then go forth and engage in battle. And you may think of chaos as something negative, but on the contrary, no matter if you're on the battlefield or work in business, chaos is not something to be feared. You can always find opportunities and advantages that are created in moments of chaos. In the midst of the chaos, there will always be a way to triumph. There will always be opportunity. If you neither know the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Sun Tzu had a point. Before undertaking any project or endeavor, you need to be aware of your strengths and weaknesses. Otherwise, you may suffer from overconfidence or make mistakes that can lead to total disaster. Whatever battle or venture you take up should only be done on the basis that you fully understand yourself and your capabilities. Knowing the enemy is of just as much importance. The enemy could be a person, a business, or a goal, whatever it might be that stands in your way. But by knowing and understanding this enemy, you'll glean clear insights into exactly how you should plan, prepare, and eventually win. Essentially, if you know yourself and know the enemy, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. It's never a good idea to let anybody know what you're doing or what you're planning, especially in business. Leave as many people in the dark as possible. This way, your enemies won't be aware of your intentions, won't be able to effectively plan for what you have in store, and therefore, you're more likely to achieve victory. And the interesting thing about success is that it breeds success. Opportunities multiply as they are seized, is how Sun Tzu puts it. But to have this opportunity in the first place, you must adapt when momentum is not on your side. This means potentially doing the opposite of what seems advantageous in the moment or have certain contingencies in place already. And the last core value, which is the basis on which this whole text is anchored, is that winning is best when there is no fighting involved. War is not something to be taken lightly. It should always be considered seriously, as it's a matter of life and death. Warfare is risky, so the best type of victory is when no one has to fight. The army can emerge victorious with its soldiers, officers, and equipment totally intact. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. War isn't a game, it's about survival. It's about protecting peace. And if that can come without bloodshed, while leading with wisdom and compassion and acting with discipline, then that's always the strategy to true victory.